not enough aspirin in the world. Folks, if there's one thing that drives good audio shops crazy, is having to deal with all of the stuff that's written on the web. And the best way of describing it is the plight of many doctors who have to deal with Dr. Google. And if you look up anything in a medical condition, it could be a hangnail, invariably you're going to find somebody write something that most likely this is fatal. Do you have your will ready? And you should go to the emergency room right away. And a lot of the stuff that's written on the web is, some of it can be good, but a lot of it is just so off the wall by people voicing an opinion, but with no professional understanding of what they're talking about, that it causes me to, resort to using aspirin too much. If you want to look at this stuff, that's all well and fine. I mean, if you're bored at night and you can't fall asleep, okay. But please take the time to review the reviewer before you begin to trust what they have to say, and then run off and confront somebody who's knowledgeable about this. It's maddening what I find out there. Or people say, oh, you got to use this or that. Some of the advice that can be out there can be pretty insane. There was a fad in England for a little while to put this sort of non-conductive goo inside your component. And poor Julian Vericker of Naim Audio had to deal with a case of this where a preamplifier had failed, and this thing was basically a box of Jell-O. And, the technician presented this to Julian, and he goes, what do I do with this? Julian said, return it to spec, which meant, they had to clean all this goo out of the inside of it. So the advice can be all over the place in the world. And there has been products out there that you're supposed to put on your contacts, and nobody ever bothered to tell people that this stuff dries out and actually makes the connections less conductive and actually worse than simply plugging and unplugging the socket. But it conveniently came in a hypodermic syringe form, because that's about what it was like. You had to constantly do this. And I've had to clean that off of cables. And I went through a whole can of cleaner just to get this crap off the connector. So review the reviewer. I mean, if you don't trust movie reviews, and we've had some really crazy ones, then why are you believing somebody you haven't had a chance, to say, well, is this guy really knowledgeable or not? And, so do your homework. And if you've got a good insight, and say, hey, Lou, there's this thing, what do you think about it? I may not have an answer, or good audio shops may not have an answer, and they'll take the time to look into it. And, but give them a chance, because as I say, a lot of this stuff is so off the wall. It'll drive you nuts. And we simply can't answer everything that people seemingly come up with. So, again, you can look at this stuff, but don't assume that, that it's inherently correct. I mean, if you do, then, you're a real Twitter candidate.